Hey everyone, this is Tiqqle, and in today's video we're talking about Enhancement Shaman and their ability called Feral Spirit. Now, this is what the ability does. Basically, it pops out 2 wolves or 2 raptors for you raptor boys, and it gives you 1 stack of Maelstrom weapon on use, and then another stack every 3 seconds, up to 15 seconds, meaning a total of 6. Now that seems pretty decent, right? Well, not actually, because those wolves don't really do anything. They don't do much damage. It's totally negligible damage. And so, like, what is the really value? Is it only to just get you Maelstrom weapon stacks? Well, yeah, actually, that's about it right now. There is nothing else in the game that augments this. There's no PvP talents. There is a talent, though, that will change it a little bit. It's called Elemental Spirits. Elemental Spirits reduces the cooldown of Feral Spirits by 30 seconds right off the bat, which is, you would think that would be good, right? And causes your Feral Spirits to be imbued with Fire, Frost, or Lightning effects. Now, in BFA, this was used to kind of have constant damage going on a short, basically became a short cooldown, a 1.5 minute cooldown, DPS cooldown that would give you either increased damage to your Storm Strikes, to your Lava Lashes, and Flame Tongue, or your Frostbrand Frost damage. Now in the beta and in Shadowlands, it does the same thing, but it doesn't really feel that great, particularly because Enhanced Shaman now in Shadowlands has a much different toolkit. They're using things like Frost Shock, Flame Shock, Lightning Bolts, Chain Lightnings, and Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolts aren't affected by Elemental Spirits. So what's going on here? There's also a legendary. The legendary says it's going to increase your chance to generate Maelstrom weapon stacks. And then for each Maelstrom weapon stack, it's going to reduce the cooldown of your elemental spirits. Now, I'll show you some mythic gameplay here where we were testing this legendary out. Turns out you can actually basically have your feral spirits up almost every big pull because of the amount of Maelstrom weapon stacks you can stack, especially with elemental assault. Now, you might say to yourself, well, Tiqqle, it sounds pretty good. You're making a summary. It's actually not good because the wolves don't do any damage. They don't have a defensive capability that they're providing to the shaman. And those 6 Maelstrom stacks aren't really great, and this RNG buffs aren't really great. So what's going on with it? Well, basically, Blizzard has put out this blue post. In the blue post, it says, feral spirits are a bit weak right now. And they're actually, if you look at what they're actually talking about the wolves themselves, not even the elemental spirits talent. So elemental spirits feral spirits are a bit weak right now. Yeah, no kidding, they don't do any damage. And a talented version has some issues where different elemental wolves don't interact with some abilities that they should. I'm assuming this has to do with Frost Shock, Flame Shock, because you didn't have those in BFA. So maybe they aren't quite tuned right. Also, Lightning Bolt. So to me, this means that they're going to be changing the feral spirits, which is great news for us. But the reality is, what are they going to do? Now the chat, and if you guys haven't yet, please sub to the channel. We're going for 50K subs. I hope I can earn your sub through this video. And we do stream every single day, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But the chat, you guys had some great ideas for what these wolves could do. And I think that this is where we need to communicate to Blizzard. These wolves need to be a big cooldown. I can equate it to what they did to Frost Mages. I should say just Mages. Mages got mirror images, which make them reduce damage taken by 20%. I'm like, wait, what? Why do they do that? Feral Spirits could do something like that. So we'll just walk through some different ideas that you guys had and that I have about this cooldown in general. Even outside of the Elemental Spirits talent, as well as what it could be in terms of PvP talents, because PvP talents for Enhanced Shaman have not changed, and they really need to. Enhanced Shaman needs a little bit of love, needs a little bit more survivability, and probably a little bit of damage coming out of those PvP talents. Telesto had an interesting idea in the chat. He said, you know, why don't you just redo the wolves to make it so they have heal on hit. Now this would be something that a lot of people would like to see is healing on hit, or do some type of leech on hit or something like that. I've heard this idea a lot. Roar of Sacrifice style crit protection. Talented wolves would replicate your attacks when you Lava Lash, or they could repeat attacks. I've heard that a bunch of times. Fire Wolf attacks reduce the magic damage done to you. The Storm Strike one, Lightning Wolves attack and redirect physical damage. So almost a defensive aspect of that, stealing damage. It's an interesting and creative take. Now we had a lot of other ideas. D mentioned the wolves morphed into a defensive instead of reducing the percentage cooldown and split damage among you onto the wolves. So in other words, you pull out the wolves, you have 2 wolves, and they start to soak some of the damage that you're taking. I think that is, I'm a big fan of that one. They could make the wolves heal baseline, but not do tons of damage. So this would be a more defensive healing perspective that I was talking about, and make it do a lot of damage and compete with Stormkeeper and Ascendants. Yeah, because it's a good point. This is on a last talent tier. These are usually the big bangers, right? The doing a lot of damage Ascendants. Well, I guess Or then Spike isn't necessarily a big banger, but Ascendance is. Next one was by DGW. Give 3 abilities for the Elemental Wolves to put on a shared CD so you can select them to match your build. The part of this is around the fact that Elemental Spirits, which is the talented ability, you basically, when you use the Wolves, you get an RNG, you get 2 out of the potential 3 buffs, or you could stack them as well, right? You have the Fire, Lightning, Frost buffs. Personally, I'm not a big fan of that RNG aspect, and I just don't like it because you could get really lucky or you could get really unlucky. And some people are like, well, you're rolling the dice. It's like, oh, no, why don't you just give me one of each buff? Give me the Storm Strike buff. Give me the Fire buff. Give me 3 wolves. I like wolves. I like animals. We know that. So that's something else, another idea that I kind of can hook onto. Or you could customize your wolves. Maybe you have a healing wolf, or whatever, and you can customize those. I think that's a little bit too much mechanics, but you know, it is what it is. Next one, Windnecker said, if I got my choice with wolves, I would want to see them reasonable damage like they did in the past. Maybe bring the crash causing wolves to cleave from the Legion weapon. So yeah, that was a Legion ability. You crash and then they are cleaving as well. And bring the heal defensive, considering that they don't seem to want to give us a % reduction. So on damage healing, I've heard that very often as well. Shame it's useless. You know, right now, it doesn't seem to do a lot, and it does look like Blizzard is saying that they're weak, and they're not working with the talents right. I would really like them to allow us, well, and I'll get into, this is where we'll get into what I think they should do. I think there's 2 options. They can either be, and they could be both of these options. One is they could be very offensive. They could be doing a lot of damage, a very offensive cooldown like Infernal. They go in, they start shredding the target, zapping them with lightning, lighting them on fire, putting Frost Shock, putting Flame Shock on the target, like whatever that is, and just doing big damage. I think when pets do big damage, it's usually not necessarily a great thing, like Demonology, when you're focused around that demonic tyrant. Usually doesn't work out that great in PvP particularly, but for PvE, I would love to see it so that you pop them and they go in and they start just ravaging the enemies, right, that you're targeting or cleaving on. I think that if they did AoE, I think that would also be very good for PvE, or at least maybe some of the wolves did. I think that would be pretty cool, kind of like, again, like Infernal. I'm thinking about Infernal from an offensive standpoint. If I got to choose any pet in this game that I would want my doggos to be, or my raptor boys to be, it would be an Infernal. Get in there, do massive amounts of damage. That's one option. I also think they could do things about that could reduce cooldowns or something, but I don't really like the cooldown reduction aspect. I would rather them just do pure damage, number one, for an offensive, big offensive cooldown, because it would also feel very good with the legendary that they put in. When you have, and you've probably seen through the Mythic B roll I got going on, the Master Weapon proc chance increase, and the fact that every time you get it, reduces the cooldown. I was getting uptime on the wolves every single pack, and that felt so good. It felt good to get those boys out there helping you. It felt like a very interactive, like wolf pack type thing. I really liked it. Now it just didn't do damage. It can't compete with the one legendary for enhance that is pumping, which is the one increasing the Storm Strike damage, in my opinion, or Elemental Equilibrium for Hailstorm. But anyway, that's a different video. Let me know if you want to hear more about the different builds or the legendary reviews or something like that. But so that's the offensive take. Now the defensive take is this: they can make it so that the wolves make it so, like I said earlier, they soak some of the damage, like 20% reduced damage, just like mirror images. Or just don't even make it so they don't soak the damage. Give it just a reduced damage effect. And that would be very good. I could gamble that with a shorter cooldown. Like I've been mentioning, that legendary could mean that I could get that defensive going. And that's a defensive intended for enhance. That would mean I get wolves out more frequently than 1.5 minutes. And I think that would be like a nice thing. I also think that them healing makes sense from that's like a defensive option, even though it makes more sense to me that they do big damage. And like they're wolves, man. They're going in. Have you seen these puppies? Or these raptors? They're just going in and doing like what looks to be, could be a lot of damage. I wish. But so that's defensive. I see damage reduction, healing. Those could be good things. Synergy with certain abilities could be there. I just think that's a little bit of a stretch, especially with how close we are to the release date. I really would prefer them to make it so that they just baseline are doing those healing, the damage reduction, healing, or big damage. Those are like the 3 ways I see them really coming out. And they haven't done anything yet. They haven't announced anything yet, which makes me a little worried because we're running out of time, Blizzy. We're running out of time. But guys, definitely let me know what you think are good options. And this is how we're going to keep communicating with Blizzard. We're going to make these videos. We're going to post on the forums. We're going to talk about it because I think it's a really big deal. And for the talent, I think there could be a PvP talent even that augments the wolves in the ways that we're talking about for PvP, because I do think it is important to get more help to enhance Shaman and defensive capability. I personally don't think the wolves is really the answer that they need, but it could be like an offensive cooldown based on wolves. And then for elemental spirits, again, I think it would be best for that talent to be you get one of each wolf, if that's the case, and the fact they do damage. I think that would make it a very fun play style. So that's what I think, guys. I just want to do a quick video to recap you, let you know what's going on with Spirit Wolves, and let you know, or Feral Spirits, and let you know what the heck is going on. So guys, with that being said, we'll see you on the stream every day, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, put down in the comments what you want to see. And if you did like this video, put that sub in there, put that like in there. And I will see you guys next one. Keep the Shaman dream alive. We're going to be okay. Damage tuning hasn't come in yet. We'll see how it goes. With that being said, guys, we'll see you in the next one. Take care.